Alrighty, you're now tuned in to a movie podcast about movies. That's right, it's a Cinema 9 podcast, a very special, somber edition. We're not going to have fun. We're going to keep this very low-key. This is the first Reformed episode, a tribute to Paul Schrader, one of the running gags of our one-year anniversary show. Right there, Reverend Branstrom, and of course, Minister Roy is with me, Michael Govia, your three hosts as always. It's the one-year anniversary show. We're doing First Reformed for our Does It Hold Up segment, which will become our signature segment. Travis Roy, here it is. 1 year in the books. What can you say, really?
My dearly beloved, we've gathered here today to discuss the comedy stylings of Ethan Hawke in Paul Schrader's uproarious First Reformed.
Fucking hilarious.
Classic. But I'm doing good here in Hazel Park, Michigan, and I'm so excited. I don't understand how our 53rd episode is our 1 year anniversary. I don't know the math on that, but I'm real excited about it. I'm glad to be here with you two fine gentlemen. And of course, all of you listening and watching, it's fun as important it is to do all this with these guys, and I love it. It's kind of pointless without you guys there. We need you, and we appreciate your support. So thank you.
I completely agree with that. Well said. Some religious organ.
Oh, Mighty Fortress.
Powerful sermon from the minister, Travis Roy.
That's correct. Beautiful. Well said. Yes, it's First Reformed Anniversary Show. Minister Roy has spoken eloquently. Now we're going to turn it over and introduce Reverend Branstrom, who will speak about the experience with our lovely church. Infinite life. Is that what it's called? Infinite life?
Abundant life.
Abundant life. Okay.
I mean, either way, we're talking
There's
lots of life.
Yeah, a lot of life available. Reverend Branstrom, how you feeling? Griffith, Indiana, 1 year in.
Dude, we're doing good. And I definitely want to thank the flock as well as you guys. But, when the Lumiere brothers, among others, first created the cinematic, what is that thing, Travis?
I don't know, but I got to give shout out to WK Laurie Dixon, too, if we're going to talk about the Lumiere brothers.
Their intention was to have people in a room together watching entertainment. So without you guys, without our audience, we're just sitting around in a dark room with a flickering light. So it's because of you two that this is happening. It's because of our audience that we're able to do this week after week. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart and glass.
You got Pepto and bourbon? Is that what you're drinking?
No, Drano and whiskey.
The Reverend Toller?
No, Drano and rye.
I can't hear you. It's getting way too emotive.
You feel the passion. Wow.
I feel like someone should be retiring to the West Wing, like I'll be in my chambers.
Right. Be in seclusion.
I'll be in seclusion in the West Wing.
Let's all get some blankets, sit on a nice chair, put them over our laps and get comfy, because we're going to be talking deep thoughts here on the Cinema 9 Pod. I'm so happy, so excited. Thank you for being a part of the experience. For those of you that check out the live stream every Thursday night, remember that Periscope is dead. It's long gone. It is bye-bye. No more. Fiend. So you got to go to our YouTube page or our Facebook Live page. That's the best way to do it. We also have a Twitch page. And this was brought up to me last week or earlier this week. Travis Roy, we have a link tree. So you can go to Linktree and see all of our connections.
Do people, I don't know if people, people probably don't go to Linktree, but they could click the link on the Instagram bio and it'll show you everything we got everywhere we're at, or most of the places we're at. There's, sometimes I'll like Google us. I'll be like, oh, I didn't know we were on Audible. Cool, we're on Audible. Don't know if anyone's listening to us there, but if you are, thank you.
Yay! Actually, I was on Reddit this week, and somebody posted their link tree so that you could have all their links to their content. So I think people do that.
Yeah.
So we're doing that now. So I'd never heard of Linktree, and Travis, you enlightened to me. So thank you for that. Of course, the podcast people, that's where it all started. Before there was ever a live stream, it was just us, some shitty audio with even worse microphones. If you go back to the early episodes, which Travis has done, he's gone all the way back in our catalog and listened from the beginning. The audio's come a long way, has it not?
The audio's come a long way. The audio, is, some ups and downs throughout. The format changed. It was interesting going back. The main thing I learned from it is like, Travis, stop interrupting so much. That's really what I learned. That was probably my big takeaway. It was like, just slow down. Let them talk. They're your co-hosts.
Yeah, there is a There's a difference with dialogue between having a conversation with somebody and then doing it like technically for entertainment. There is a cadence that's different, right?
There's a whole kind of mood as well. I mean, for me, if it's just us sitting in a room, I'd probably be a little more inclined toward the negative side of things because I'm such a fucking movie snob. But, you know, we've got an audience that doesn't come here to hear some asshole bitch and complain. So I try to be as positive as I can for the show. And in all honesty, it's something that I had to work on. And I'm not going to lie about it.
Well, you shouldn't. If you care about the craft and you're actually trying to improve the show, that's why I heard somebody say this the other day on a podcast. It was Mort Krim. Fucking Mort Krim is still alive, by the way.
I'm sorry, Mort Krim has a podcast?
No, he doesn't, but he was a
Krimcast.
He was a guest on a podcast.
Non-Detroiters, Mort Krim is a long-time
God,
local anchor.
Titan.
Yeah. Well, he became more famous for those of you that are not Detroiters because Ron Burgundy, he got credited with being one of the inspiration for Ron Burgundy, especially when Anchorman 2 came out. So, anyways, Mort Krim, legendary. He's still alive. He's 85 years old, and he was saying on a podcast as a guest, not his own, that
Krimcast.
Well, hey, if Barack Obama could have a podcast, then the Krimcast could be a thing.
His voice is beautiful. He still sounds amazing. He hasn't changed at all. He's 85 and he sounds lucid and clear. It sounds like it's 1986. It's amazing. And the Bill Bonds wars are going on with Mort Krim and Bill Bonds every night going head to head. Those are the days. But the point being of this whole Mort Krim commentary is that he said he doesn't believe movie stars who say, I don't watch my movies. Because that's bullshit. Because even if you care about your craft, you want to see how you did it. You want to see how you do things so you can improve upon it. And that's why you go back and listen to your own audio as well, because you want to see, hey, all right, am I talking over people? What am I doing wrong? I need to learn. I need to get better.
I mean, I'm an egoist. You know, I'll admit it. No, I'm just kidding.
You're a human being. So
yeah, no, I went back and listened to them in the hope, just because it'd been a year, and I thought, why not? You know, I hadn't listened to most of them since we released them, so I thought, why not see what I could gain over the from listening to them, and that was mostly what I came away with, is I interrupt too much. That's about it.
Yay! Happy 1-year anniversary, Travis. All right, well, this is just another show in the end, just like all of our other shows. Don't forget, cinema9pod, protonmail.com. Maybe we'll have an anniversary email with somebody reflecting.
Did anyone check the email? Yeah.
I'm checking it right now, so I will let you know. But in the meantime, of course, don't forget, Periscope's dead, YouTube channel, and Facebook channel are main focuses for us if you want to see the live streams. If you're a sick individual and you got to see our faces, then go to those areas at Cinema9pod. Very simple. Quarantine viewing picks, 1 year in the making. There's still a pandemic going on. Some people have the vaccine. Some people are feeling better and more optimistic. In fact, I actually see concerts that are lined up this summer at outdoor venues, at least in the Detroit area. Steely Dan and Steve Winwood.
Gin Blossoms and Toad the Wet Sprocket are coming on July 4th. I'm thinking I'm going to go.
Yes. Is that Counting Crows too, or no?
It's also the Bare Naked Ladies, unfortunately. I wish it was a Counting Crows.
I love Old Apartment. That's a great song. But yeah, Bare Naked Ladies are hit or miss. I will agree.
Hopefully they play last.
Wait, real quick. We got to give tribute to Steve Laskowski, who's one of our dedicated watchers, because nobody did Lying in Bed, just like Brian Wilson did. Back at the the fucking Whitmore Lanes karaoke back in the day, Steve. Well done. Mwah. Beautiful.
Yes, dead air.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
so your quarantine viewing picks. You're up, Travis.
Oh yeah. I watched like too many movies. I got too much to talk about. I did a return to theaters. I could have sat in my house and watched Godzilla vs. Kong on HBO Max.
Yeah, that's right.
I deliberately went to the theaters, and I feel, I've read a lot of reviews, and there are some people that really fucking hated this movie or thought it was just like whatever. And yeah, like, it's fucking stupid. It's monsters. Like, but I mean, the rumbling seats, the deafening roar, like the giant monsters duking it out over me, the maskless teenagers running back and forth with their phones on, like, it was great. I mean, other than the last thing, it was fucking great. It was a great return to theaters. I was really happy with it, and I love the movie. I fucking love the movie. I'm sure that there's at least like twice as much because of seeing it in theaters. I feel like if I'd just seen it at home, I would not have felt that way.
No negatives. It didn't feel weird at all or anything to go there. It was like, oh, it's good to be back.
I mean, you know, I wouldn't have done it had I not been vaccinated. And even still, like, I ended up like moving away from the popcorn munching dude to my right. I'm like, all right, all fucking the whole time with the popcorn. Fine. But yeah, for the most part, it was good. I'll go back. I'll see another movie there, but I'm going to be pretty selective about it. I'm going to want to see, you know, I'm not going to see Minari there. Like I said, I would, I'm going to stick to the big blockbuster. I mean, I'll see Black Widow there. Abso-fucking-lutely. Whenever the fuck they let us see that movie.
Is that
July now?
It...
No, they switched it to like mid-July or something. July of 2020,000 or something. So, you know what? I'm not a huge Tina Turner fan. Like, I like a couple of her songs, but I watched that new documentary on HBO Max, and it was really fucking good, dude. It was really good. Like, just and like inspiring, and not like Ike beat her, and like she's got an inspiring story. Like, it's beyond that, because it's like how that fucking story became like the whole story of her life and all anybody wanted to talk about. So it's like her overcoming that is really what the story of that movie's about. It's really fucking good. And since she's basically said goodbye to the public life, I'd recommend checking it out. It felt like a deep dive back into like 1980s and like, you know, I mean, a time when, I mean, she's like this rock and roll 40-year-old black woman, like, and one of the biggest fucking stars in the world. It was pretty cool. So check that out. Did you watch it, Eric? He's thinking about watching it.
He's really Eric's stewing. He's patiently thinking right now. Give him some time. Don't talk yet. Give yourself a couple minutes here.
Consider it. I watched Our Friend, which I wrote a review for on Instagram and loved it. I thought Jason Segel could have easily gotten an Academy Award for this. This is probably this is a good movie. I feel like between it, The Father, and that Supernova, like there was just like a little too much going on with like people dying and like these movies, like so they went, okay, we're just gonna give Academy Awards to The Father, we're gonna let Supernova and Our Friend go by. But I mean, I haven't seen The Father yet, but to me, both Supernova and Our Friend have been things like worthy of Oscar attention, in my opinion. It was good. It was really good. I broke my streak and went back and watched some stuff that I had seen before. I watched Wicked City from 1987, which I watched as a kid. Which, like, why am I watching Japanese horror porn as a 10-year-old? I don't fucking know, but explains a lot. It
does. It really does.
Finally, an explanation.
That is so fetch.
I finally watched a couple movies that we've talked about on the podcast quite a bit, and I'm going to wrap this up. I watched Dragged Across Concrete, so we can stop bringing it up over and over and over again. I finally watched Dragged Across Concrete, and it was solid, man. Probably, you know, the best thing I've seen Michael Jai White do in a long time, which I've been pretty hard. I've been hard on him for a long time, but it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. I still like the other two Zoller films better, but I thought this was good. I watched Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. Lengthy title. It was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And contrary to what I'd said before about not being into like ship movies and like, you know, war on the sea, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Like between watching that and the USS Indianapolis Indianapolis movie, I'm like, you know, actually like war movies on boats, there's like this whole level extra of intensity of like, you don't just have to like avert being killed by your enemy, you have to like not be killed by the elements and all that kind of stuff. So I might have to go back and watch, you know, Crimson Tide and that kind of stuff. I might have to revisit some of this kind of stuff. I did a double decker of Tom Hanks movies I'd never seen, which included A Hologram for the King. Worst title for a movie ever.
I've seen
forgettable. But I watched That Thing You Do finally.
What
a delightful movie. I'd never seen it. I'd never seen That Thing You Do. And you know, I've been trying to like, you know, check stuff off that I hadn't seen. So this was on the list. And, you know, and maybe if I'd noticed that, you know, I didn't remember that it was Tom Hanks wrote and directed it as well.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun, infectious. I couldn't deny it. I really enjoyed watching a movie about a band that followed the drummer. That was really fucking cool. I mean, the One Eaters. The attention given to him, and because drummers are always like the least respected people in bands.
Spinal Tap set the tone.
Right. But this movie shows that like he comes in and changes the whole fucking game. They'd be nothing without him, which is true of every band. The drummer makes every band. I don't care how charismatic your singer is. I mean, like, well, that's a bit of a stretch, but I mean, they're important. and they're seldomly reflected on in film. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, you get Riz Ahmed obviously in like Sound of Metal, but like this was different. This was like about the band and following the drummer and stuff. So
this is a classic story of the band. But I will say real quick, when that movie came out, I remember I was excited about it because it was written and directed by Tom Hanks, because I was so engrossed with him after he won for Forrest Gump. And at the time, I loved, Forrest Gump was like the most profound thing I'd ever seen when I was 15 years old. I admit that freely, because you got to go back and think how things were at the time. So I was really excited for that. And I remember at the time kind of being like, so-so. But now I love that movie. So.
I was turned off from like early 60s, but actually it's like a perfect period piece. I mean, it's so authentic. Yeah. All the little props, everything, just like really immersive.
Yeah, the suits. Yeah, everything's great. I agree.
Yeah, it was great. And those are most of the movies. Last thing I watched The Gentleman from 2020. Kind of regurgitated Guy Ritchie stuff. Whatever. Don't make a sequel, Guy. You don't need to.
Oh, with Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's fine. It felt like a latter day effort from someone regurgitating similar stuff they'd trod on before. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I mean, it was better than The Hitman's Bodyguard, which I also watched. Just like, hey, Americans trashing things up in Europe. Ugh, like, why did I watch this? Don't make a sequel.
Two actors I really enjoy. Yeah, that's
they already
tough.
did make a sequel to it.
Yeah, that is also tough. Okay, cool. Well, Travis, I got to tell you, Guy Ritchie, he made Aladdin, so he'll always have that.
I still haven't seen that.
Neither have I. So weird. I'm so not interested in seeing it for some reason. I love the cartoon movie version, but hey, Robin Williams, some things you just can't replicate, and maybe we shouldn't, but I like the try. Anywho, Reverend Branstrom, give us your quarantine viewing picks on the special 1-year anniversary episode of the Cinema 9 podcast.
I watched Too Fast, Too Furious a few days ago.
Really?
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Absolutely did. My nephew was in town and he's a fan of these films, so I sat there and watched it with the kid. It was really fucking abominable. It was horrible, but it was a dedication to my compassion and love for my family. It was an absolute short, directed by John Singleton of all people.
God.
Yeah.
Well, it's so old now. So when was the first one? Like 2000?
2001. And then, the first one, has its place. It was original for the time, for sure. The sequel is just fucking so stupid.
He's dead. I mean, this franchise, the original director no longer exists on this plane. So just make a note of that. Very bizarre.
One of the main stars.
Yeah. Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I mean, there's nothing else you can say.
20 years of this franchise.
Yeah, it's so true. I also watched Bunny, animated bunny picture called Hop, starring James Marsden. You guys familiar?
I'm sure Travis has seen this. I
have not seen it. I've heard of it.
So I know what you're thinking. James Marsden teams up with an animated creature and he has to deal with it. It's not Sonic the Hedgehog. No, 2011's Hop, same exact plot. I dug it. What can I tell you? I liked it. It was fun. And it just goes to show you. I said this last week. If you got a filmmaker that knows what they're doing and can give you a film about a fucking talking bunny, it teams up with some asshole and have it be entertaining, good on you, man. Good on you. Okay. I flirted with the fact that I'm about to make a very, very bold declaration. It's not about Die Hard. I'm not getting there just yet.
I'm sorry, hang on to interrupt. Did you send us a picture of yourself pondering this declaration that you're about to make? It wasn't a tearful picture this time. It was more of a ponderous, like, I'm considering the weight of my words kind of picture.
There was a lot of gravity. So I watched... For the
Quran, we're talking Quran.
I shouldn't have watched it, but I dug into the 4-part Allen versus Pharaoh documentary on HBO.
Oh no,
Woody Allen. It's over. It's over. I'm a big due process guy, but there's just some things that are just too much and that spilled over for me. I can't go back, and I love Woody Allen's movies. I love them. Deconstructing Harry. Manhattan's one of the best films of the 1970s, period. I can't go back. So if you're on the fence, check it out, or you can just turn a blind eye and keep the fun happening. But I can't go back after this. It's too much.
Well, no, there's actual taped recorded conversations
that are literal evidence that you cannot deny, and it's
you can't unhear it.
Detestable. You can't unhear it.
He's a scumbag, man, and I'm not down with. I talked about this with Luke, our friend, on the other show, the Bozo show with the 3 Bozos, and it's just like once you hear things, and I hate doing these public I'm with you. I understand. Like,
Yeah.
I get that. I tread very lightly on that. But when you hear something that you assume is not manipulated, it's very old and it's directly from the source. It's
Well,
it's
it's a
hard to-
documentary, and I mean, any documentary is going to have lying by omission in it. But when you have concrete evidence like this, you can't deny it, you guys. But after that, I did settle in with a really fun documentary on HBO. It's called The Price of Everything. It's about the buying and selling and creating of contemporary art. I really enjoyed it. If you have any interest in the topic, Jeff Koons and Larry Poons and Gerard Richter, some of these contemporary artists that don't see a lot of fanfare because mostly their work is just owned by these rich people on Park Avenue, and it's never seen, and it's so different than from what the old masters were doing. I really enjoyed it. It's 2018, I believe, won at the Sundance for Best Documentary. Really good documentary.
Did you say Coombs and Pooms?
I did. Jeff Koons and Larry Poons. Koons and Poons. Koons and Poons.
I don't follow the art world, so I didn't know these names. That's entertaining to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, it's fucking sad how the people that deal with art the most and buy and sell it have fucking no clue about it. They challenged this one person to explain the piece, and she simply couldn't, and it was sad. But a good documentary. And aside from that, I watched Die Hard, and like I told you guys before, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I'd never seen Die Hard.
I feel so much better about how long I went without seeing Do the Right Thing. It's not even funny. Like, forget about it.
This is more blatant. I have to say right off the bat, as a outsider, this is way more blatant than not seeing Do the Right Thing.
Well, so what did you think?
I loved it. It's the best action we've ever seen in my entire life.
I thought you were kidding when you said so. I mean, like, I thought you were just like placating us. So you really, you really feel like it's the best. It's a perfect fucking action movie.
The action movie of all times. I have no excuse. I mean, I attempted to limp in and say, well, Gone with the Wind, you get it, like the Civil War and the struggle for blah blah blah. You don't really need to see the film or something like that. Like you get the bits by bit, and so it's just like I figured, the cop, he saves the day, he's got to go through hell or whatever. But yeah, it's fucking amazing. John McTiernan's a genius. I don't know if he's still in prison, but he needs to get back into action movies. He was the master.
Yeah, I used to fuck guys like you in prison. Roadhouse. We love Roadhouse on this show. Classic.
Prison, yeah. Just a tax offense or some bullshit, but guy could fucking direct an action movie like the best of them.
We totally depleted the IRS, so we don't have to worry about that anymore.
There you go, man. Pretty good week.
So your main recommendation is a film called Die Hard. Okay, write that down.
Yeah. Pencil it in.
All right, wow, cool. Ghost Hand 246 is back. By the way, we do have a Twitch channel. We don't really understand it, but we do have it. I don't know, it's very complicated, but apparently people watch it, like this person. It's hey, Ghost Hand. It's only as good action because the dialogue, setting, and acting are there to be the bedrock of the action. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's not. I mean, it's not, exactly. It's not just like fluff. Like I watched that fucking Hitman's Bodyguard movie, and the action is fantastic, but like you don't give a flying fuck about anything that's happening. Doesn't matter how well it's shot, or that, right? Like, but like, if everything comes together the right way, like it did with the American classic Die Hard, right?
Yeah, I guess it is American classic. I won't deny it. It spawned franchises, but they're not all classics. Although 3 is better than 2 for sure. All right, so me. Yeah, hey, it's me. It's me, Mario. I love movies, and that's why we do this show. Some people think watching movies is a waste of time. In fact, I've had conversations with Travis in the past where I said, why do we sit in front of a TV all the time? One day we're going to be dead. We're going to regret this. But, I watch as much movies basically as Travis does, so, I guess it's just something you do. It's okay. You can die knowing, hey, I spent some time watching movies, and I shouldn't regret that, right?
I mean, we're a movie podcast. How much do we want to make people feel guilty and like existential for watching film? Can we move on to what you've watched? Or
yeah, you're right. We can save the existentialism for our main centerpiece here shortly. More than enough to go around.
Yeah, not that we're gonna get into heavy shit or anything.
No, not at all. This could be a very lighthearted podcast. So I went back and watched Anchorman 2, which is just rubbish. It's just rubbish, man. I don't know if I have like the unedited version, like the hey, not rated. So all the extra bullshit is in it too, and some of that stuff really drags on and slows down all these scenes. Like the scene with Megan Good, it's just like when they first meet her, it's really excruciatingly like awful. It's like, this is not funny. You're trying to make fun of people that used to be racist, that there still can be racist because they're white male. I don't know. I didn't really get it. Maybe I'm crazy, but
the movie's a wreck.
It is. So it's a cash grab. I get it. I understand why they did it. I mean, I wouldn't resist. Hey, here's a ton of fucking money. Please do this again. So it happens. I watched I Love You, Man, which is just always a delightful film. This is done properly because you have two guys doing great comedic acting, and Rashida Jones, and even our Joe Dirt pal checks back. It's funny to see good old Priscilla. What the fuck's her name? Priscilla? What's her name?
Jamie Presley.
Yeah, Presley. I was saying Priscilla Presley. I guess that's what I was thinking. Priscilla Presley.
That is what you were thinking.
From The Naked Gun.
She's a person.
She is also a person. Yeah. So yes, Jamie Presley is in this. She does a great job. Her and the banter between those two characters, although they're just a side couple with Favreau, is fucking hilarious.
Jon Favreau is so funny in that movie. He's such a prick.
Yeah, he really leaned into it in that, because usually, sometimes he play like this extremist, like I've seen him in other Vince Vaughn movies where he's a side character, just like a psycho. And this one, he's very like, he's such that guy, that drinking, like minimalist asshole husband who does love his wife, but sometimes he just really doesn't give a fuck about anyone else's considerations. I dug it. I laughed a lot. It was funny. It was not the first time I saw it, but it was like, it's good. It's good to see it again. That's a great comedy. Great comedy. There's like Sandberg and J.K. Simmons are just thrown in the side too. There's a lot of good actors in that movie. Hank Mardukas 3 times a week. Oh, that's funny. I watched Fury. I actually thought, was Fury a movie that I would bring to the table? I know it's 2014, but we've gone to 2012 and now we're going to 2017 here, but it's really well done, but I don't know. There's something about it that leaves me a little, something's missing. And I wish I had a better criticism of that. It's not a very good movie criticism. It's got great actors. It's got, the scenery is incredible. It's a different setting. Again, we don't always have like the tank crew version of a World War II film. So it does have that unique point of view, but it was all right. It was okay. It was decent. So, don't worry, he won't get far on foot. I watched that again. I really love that movie. I know. I watched it a few months ago, and I went right back to it because I wanted to make sure. I'm like, did I really enjoy it? And man, I love it. Good.
Jonah Hill is fucking incredible in it, man. Kim Gordon.
Jonah Hill. This is like one of his. This might be his best role in terms of the effort.
Not even recognized. I love him in it.
Yes. He's so much heart, into it.
So much honesty.
Yes, a lot of like cut the bullshit, like really honest conversations, and he becomes someone completely different, like you said, like because he's done this thing where he'll gain weight or lose weight, or he'll try to take on character, like the Teeth in Wolf of Wall Street. He tries to do these physical affectations as well, and in this one he has the blonde hair, and he just doesn't look like himself, even though it's him, and he really dove into that character. I think it's underrated, one of his best performances, and of course, Joaquin Phoenix is the main guy who was I didn't even know. I learned about this guy. He's a great cartoonist, a really funny cartoonist too, and I don't even know his name now, so I'm an asshole, but it's a great movie. I really enjoyed it. So that's pretty much it. I went back and watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I don't know if that movie holds up.
Yeah, I was watching it a few months ago. I was like, I don't know about this, Michael.
Yeah, I'm glad it exists, because just like Travis said with That Thing You Do, these period pieces exist, and this is a great example of like early 80s teen culture. Like malls were so important, and arcades, and I'm glad it exists because it takes you back in time. I don't know, maybe it is relevant. Maybe we just changed so much that I watch Fast Times now and I'm like, that's tough to see. I don't know, it seems like
it's set in the 80s though, isn't it? I mean, it was filmed in the 80s. It takes place in the 80s.
Early 80s, 82.
But it's indicative of the period.
Thank you. Yes, that's a better way to say it. Yeah. So I'm glad. That's why movies are so important to me, because in a sense they can still the visual capture of the time and place, even if it doesn't mean to be a period piece. It's just part of the moment.
They're awesome historical artifacts. Like for a long time, American historians generally didn't look at film. They're like, oh no, that's but it's like, dude, like this is like if something is created, especially and then if it's celebrated and reverberates in culture, like that really that tells us something.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Absolutely. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Ghost Hands chiming in says nothing you enjoy is a waste of time. It can't be harmful, but the time is being used in reference to us.
Yeah, it can't even be harmful, but the time is being used. Right.
Yeah, right on. And one has the advantage of being a sleeper hit as well, which was I Love You Man. That was more of a sleeper hit. I think it kind of came on as opposed to Anchorman 2 was way over bloated and total trash. So
yeah.
All right, so there it is. That's our quarantine viewing picks. Now it's time for us.
Trigger warning. Right? I mean, let's get that out of the way. I mean, there's a lot of suicide talk in First Reformed. So
Is
get
there?
that out of the Yeah. It's one of the main premises of the film. So
interesting. That's not how I see it, but it's definitely there. So we'll talk about that.
There's like 4 characters. One of them kills himself, and the other one almost kills himself. How is suicide not a major theme here? Did we watch the same movie?
This is why we do this. You know, we all bring a different perspective to the show on the Cinema 9 podcast. By the way, we had no emails, so you don't have to worry about that. No 1-year anniversary emails. Yeah, we got away with that. But Cinema 9 Pod,
leave us alone, people.
Don't email us ever. All right, the main event. 1 year in the making, a tribute. There it is. Eric Brasham's holding up a beautiful copy. I got mine. Again, Travis, if you guys don't know, he sent us both a copy, a Blu-ray edition of First Reformed over the holidays. What a good friend. What a nice guy. He didn't even buy one for himself, folks. We
don't have to regurgitate. We don't have to do this over and over again. Like, all right. Let's move.
No, come on. You got to.
Travis bought this.
Yeah, he's always. Yeah, don't be shy. You did a good thing. So, First Reformed, 2017, directed by Paul Schrader, a guy we have talked about a lot on this show. Travis came up with the idea, and it makes total sense because we've referenced Paul Schrader a million times.
And this movie specifically, too. I mean, Paul Schrader generally, blue collar, and this one maybe equally, but yeah, we've definitely talked about this one a lot, especially in the earlier episodes.
Yeah, so here we go. Let's get into it then. So 4 years ago, it's not like a lifetime ago, Travis Roy, when's the first time you saw this film?
You know, I didn't see it until after the Oscars. I don't even know if I heard about it until the Oscars that year. Because I just remember, like, you know, when I was watching the Oscars that year, like First Reform started trending, or maybe it was when the Oscar nominations happened. It was something around there. But like, it was trending. And Ethan Hawke was trending on Twitter because, like, you know, snub. And I was like, well, I missed this movie entirely in theaters. I had not heard of it, so I caught it around Oscar season, I think, like right after the Oscars that year. So I guess it would have been early 2018 probably. And I was floored. You know, I was absolutely floored. And immediately, you know, and said at the time, yeah, I think he was snubbed for, you know, he should have been nominated. I said it at the time. Will I feel that way tonight? We'll see.
Oh, hey, but, stay tuned on Cinema 9.
But yeah, so that's so it was just the one viewing, and then again last night. So I'm ready to talk about it.
You are talking about it.
I'm ready to talk about it even more than I am in this moment.
Eric Brancham, 2017. This movie was in theaters. Did you pop in?
Oh God, no! I missed it, and it wasn't until I got your infamous text, First Reform, get to the theater right now, that I didn't do that. But I did catch it as soon as it came out on DVD. Oh my! I'll never forget just sitting there after it ended. You know how like after you watch a DVD, it just goes back to like the title screen and then like over and over again the same like 10-second like clip of music and it's just on there. I sat there for just like an hour, like pondering my whole past history, my own faith, my current life, my relationship with hope and despair. It was truly an experience after seeing this the first time. I'm not gonna lie.
Man, that is that's powerful. I think that's really beautiful. This movie is so intense. And when I was living in Maryland in 2017, it was actually 2018 because I moved there in 2017. I feel like it was right after the new year. I saw it at like the dollar or the cheaper theater. Actually, it's not the cheaper theater. It's like the what we call it, the boutique theater where they play like these types of movies, maybe where It doesn't have. They're not going to have Avengers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That type of
Art house.
Yeah. Art
Yeah, exactly. So,
Snub.
but it's still, yeah, it's called the Bow Tie Cinemas over there in Annapolis, and I made my way over to the Bow Tie Cinemas in the Annapolis Harbor Center, which is beautiful. You keep going through there, you're straight on your way to Edgewater. What a lovely town. A lot of riverways, a lot of people on boats. Good times.
Mike used to be an Uber driver in that area, which is why he's telling this all this right now.
I can't not do it. You're right. Yeah, I just can't not do it. In fact, I went to Ubering right after the movie. Probably that's because I'd worked the night shift. But I saw that film and I didn't know what I was getting into. I just kind of took a chance because of timing as well. It wasn't. I kind of was like, you ever get that feeling? We've all had this pre-pandemic, right? It's like I just want to go see a movie and I don't give a shit. I'm going to take a chance. Whatever's playing is kind of I'm going to have to be stuck with, right?
Yeah, I've done that.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Okay, good. So that's basically
Absolutely.
what happened. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, it really hit me hard. It was so understated. I wasn't expecting much, and it was really fascinating. And I had a strong reaction to it. Like I said, the infamous text. I texted Eric, "You got to see this." I thought of Eric because it was so, just seemed like an Eric movie to me. Something that was very life affirming. I always think of that because he just ever since he blew into my life at a younger age with those same kind of remarks. It's just how it is. So. Okay, so anyways, what do other people think of this film? This film is it's got a lot of heavy hitters in it, so you might think it would be well respected. Does anyone want to take a guess?
It's the funniest Cedric the Entertainer movie by far.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah, fuck the Kings of Comedy, man. That's got nothing on this. Anybody look up the score? Or you want to take a guess?
I saw it. I saw it.
I didn't see it. I got to imagine this is just so revered as time. I'm going to say maybe 7.5, 7.4,
Yeah.
7.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like this is a thought-provoking film, but maybe I don't know if it got Academy Award buzz. I'm gonna say 7.8, a good 7.8.
I believe it's 7.2. I'm not looking, but I'm pretty sure it's 7.2. I'm not looking.
7.1. Shit.
7.1.
Yeah.
I was even worse.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean that's not exactly a bad score. In the sevens is still generally, it's pretty well lauded, but it's not maybe as high as we might have expected. But I could see where this movie would just not be for everyone. I mean, it starts off like there's not much happening, and then like you're sitting down in a living room for like a really, really, really heavy conversation for like a 10-minute scene. So I could see like some people being like, fuck, what have I gotten into? what is with this aspect ratio? I could see some people having a problem with this kind of stuff. Like, the fact that, cause it's shot like Lighthouse. So, it's shot like a box,
Is it
there's
4.3?
It's 1.31, I think.
Oh, okay. Shit.
Wow.
That's weird.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not good with that kind of stuff, but yeah, I mean, like it's unheard of. Like, they don't, you don't usually do that. But but the movie starts and you get these like vaudeville style placards, right? And there's something going on. Like maybe I don't know if it's like there's definitely a lot of throwback versus like the past versus the present kind of stuff happening in this movie, right? Like that's pretty obvious theme. I think that's occurring here. So maybe that's partly what he's trying to do with that presentation, that kind of like you're looking at this almost like it's on your TV screen. I don't know.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I see that. Dave Horning says bone doggy. I don't know what that means.
Okay,
but,
all right.
Thank you,
Respect that.
Dave. We've never seen you here, Dave. Pleasure to have you aboard. Thank you so much.
Welcome, David. Those credits I love, and that first shot. They say the first shot of your film should really paint a portrait of what you're getting yourself into. This is one of my all-time favorite first shots. It says it all. You may not notice it, but it's what they call a push-pull technique, where you're going towards the church at once, you're going away from it. So there's your theme right now. A lot of us, present company may be excluded, but I'm personally drawn to the church, and yet I'm repulsed by it. I mean, you can't get any more perfect in your theme.
I mean, I was raised in the faith, like, I wasn't until my early 20s that I was like, full on atheist.
But it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking. I'm sorry. You said push and pull, right?
They call it a push pull. It's like, think of Jaws when Captain Morgan first sees the shark, and then it does that thing where like you don't know.
Classic Spielberg move where you're moving, where the camera's. All right. Anyway, so that's what it's called. It's called the push pull.
Is this like
pushing the camera in as you pull focus.
Oh my god, I can't even. It's a dumb thing. The push and pull.
We know what it is.
pull?
The question is,
like a
do you
masturbation
want to
joke?
bring this up on the podcast? Because I know what it is. Are you gonna?
I'm not gonna say his name. There's a classic moment with the so and so was referenced for the push and pull, but I'll leave him out of it. So
yeah, if you want to use your imagination, it's something gross. But in film, it's just a classic standard maneuver, usually utilized by Spielberg, and it's just you're pushing the camera in as you pull photos.
Oh, correct. That's very good. So 93% to 68%. 93%. Which do you think is which?
I'm going to say critics were at 98.
I think anyone who like went to the theater to see this, I got a feeling they knew what they were getting into. So I don't see that much of a difference between audience and critics.
I didn't, though. I really didn't. I mean, I didn't know. I really didn't.
When I watched it, I had zero idea what it was about. All I knew was, I'd seen like the cover, so I knew that he played a preacher or a priest or something. That was all I knew about it.
Yeah, I really had no pretense on this movie from my point of view. So 93% for the critics and 68% with the audience makes it seem like it was more of a critical darling, but I don't know. We'll find out as we could.
That's pretty darling in the 90s for the critics. That's pretty damn high.
That is. Yeah, that's a elite. Chris Nashawati of the Entertainment Weekly, you may have heard of that magazine, said First Reformed is a bleak, punishing movie and the furthest thing imaginable from an easy crowd pleaser, but Hawk juices it with an austere sense of grace.
Juices it.
He juices it. Do you think anybody, would you imagine someone said the juices it about anything related to this movie? I would imagine that.
Juice by Hawk. Juice by Hawk.
Yeah. So, like I said, very favorable reviews, tons of beautiful, ripe, red tomatoes. And we're only hoping that our pal on our 1-year anniversary show will really come through for us. Because, I mean, nothing would make me happier. Yes.
He was well retired. I think,
for Barack by then, yeah.
Barack was retired by this point. I mean, he's out of the game. I don't think we're going to get a Destin Thompson review from 2017.
Rat farts. Okay, well, it happens.
What about what's the guy, Clint?
This is actually there's something interesting here. This is the most recent movie we've done. So all the critical people are actually, I don't recognize a lot of these names now. There's a lot of new names. Like all the old school names from back in the day, we always do like Ebert and even Peter Travers, shit like that. This is different. It's interesting. It's just a little side note. Adam Graham of the Detroit News, local paper. First Reformed takes some wild, unexpected, and uncomfortable turns in its final act that will surely shock some, anger others, and disturb just about everyone. For Schrader, it shows that he's still got it. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Back.
He welcomed Schrader back into the. It almost sounds like he's welcoming him into the circle of critical approval. Like, welcome back, Paul Schrader.
Yeah, welcome back. It's not like you've been making a movie every year or every 2 years for like the past 20, 30, 40 years, right? No, you haven't been doing that, have you?
No, not at all.
He hadn't directed his own work in a little while, but still, I mean, like it'd been like what? It'd been like 4 years or 3 years or something. It hadn't been that long.
I honestly think the one movie before this was the one with that Lindsay Lohan with the porn star guy, James Dean.
Laurel Canyon.
The Canyons. Those fucking
Canyons.
Yeah.
That was like 2013-ish.
A Dog Eat Dog was like 2016 or 2012 or something like that.
Oh, okay. So that was the year before. I'm just trying to find a quick splat review just to give us some, comparative knowledge here. Here's one from the Hollywood Reporter, which, by the way, we didn't even talk about that whole Scott Rudin thing, but you guys did a great job covering that on the online world. Todd McCarthy of the Hollywood Reporter says, there's not quite enough oomph or style in the filmmaking to make you forget about the schematic nature of the dramatic construct.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree because I was just thinking about Dog Eat Dog, which I realize probably a lot of people haven't seen, but it's an erratic, frantic kind of film, a dark and like brooding, but like all over the place kind of movie. This movie feels so different. First Reform feels so different from, I think, almost anything else I've seen of Schrader's, like Schrader's. God damn it. Every time. Paul Schrader. I mean, it's so still. I mean, characters just walk out of frame and we're looking at doors or like walls with no one there. And it's just silence. or there'll be like people in a conversation like that, like the first scene we were just talking about. There might be like a couple B-shot close-ups, but for the most part, you're sitting back and the camera's perfectly still as these actors just work for long stretches of camera time. I mean, like, to me, it's extremely stylistic and like noticeably calm and like, I don't know. I mean, these slow pans. I don't know. I thought it was beautifully directed.
I think the very style that they think the film lacks is in the atmosphere. You're put into this character, Reverend Tallon, who is lonely, lonely, isolated, and it's the whole film is almost it's if you're alone with him in this empty parish the entire time. The sense of, and that's why I think you have the aspect ratio, because it's just so self-contained. It's
supposed to be claustrophobic. I think that was the purpose, right? Too part of that as well as the great point you made about the relation to past historical, which is peppered throughout the film. Like you said, there's all these, like they're almost kind of odd in the movie because they just slowly throughout. He does the tour with the family, talking about, hey, so blah blah blah. This was this and that, and then he does the Underground Railroad tour with the kids. They're just peppered throughout the film, in coinciding with his private diary, which is clearly
the diary. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Diary.
Great,
please give me.
Go ahead. I love that he starts this thing like it's a self-pitying experiment. I'm going to burn it when it's done, but I'm not going to strike out a single word. I'm not going to cross out a single word. And by the end of the movie, he's ripping out pages. He's ripping out entire pages. He's like, and like it goes from being like, I'm going to burn it to like, it's going to be his suicide note, his manifesto, basically. It's fascinating.
Yeah. The diary, as far as I'm concerned, it's substituting for his prayer. And when you sit down to pray, it's not like you can hit the delete button or shy away from your thoughts or feelings. I think he says himself that he can no longer pray, so he's going to write, and even more awfully drink as a form of prayer too, if you will. But yeah, it's just all part of his self-destruction. Even his word is like a suicide note.
Yep, he is a guy. I don't care if there's narration in this or not. I really do see it as more than just a device, but an actual thing that this guy wanted to do, because it also isolates him. It reminds you, like when he talks to, whatever the fuck Cedric the Entertainer's name is this. I don't know his character's name. Joel, yeah. Thank you. Great. Yeah. Okay, so Joel, who is Cedric the Entertainer in this dude, by the way, Cedric the Entertainer comes in this movie. He doesn't try to be anything like, he's not even labeled in the credits as Cedric the Entertainer. It's by his original, normal, God-given name. Yeah, and he's rock solid in this. He plays the role exactly. He's very grounded.
He does great.
Yeah,
affable, but not like unctuous or anything like that. You'd expect from a mega church pastor.
He gives, like, he really seems to have compassion. He tries to give this guy a lot of leeway. That's a whole other point. But
he knows what side his bread is buttered on, right? Because he knows that bulk. He knows that bulk is their main supporter. And like, when he literally just turns his back on Tyler, literally talk to him about climate change. It's just like, and they have such different ideas about what it means to be a Christian, to like have a ministry. Like, cause like he's like, I'm trying to, I'm trying to like run a ministry here. And he's like, I am. And like, Tyler's like, I am too. And for Tyler, that means like following what he thinks God would want, following what he thinks Jesus was trying to tell us to do, like be stewards of the earth and all this stuff. And then for Joel, like he's from his very rational mindset, I'm trying to run a business here. I've got to make payroll. I've got to like organize all these people. And like they just have completely different ideas. And again, like one very old, one very kind of like new school idea about how to approach Christianity.
But they also see the earth as God maybe wants the earth to be destroyed from Jeffers' point of view.
That's amazing.
He just flat out says it, like, and like, this is how it goes. Christians do believe it. Some Christians see that way. Todd destroyed it once; he'll do it again. So
he doesn't implicitly say that he sees the pride taking hold of Toller, but he has good points. Pastor Jeffers says, forgive me, but Jesus already died for everything that you're consumed with at this point in time. So you shouldn't be this self-absorbed with your place in your where you're at the church, because you're forgiven and the flock, forgive me, is forgiven. So he sees, I don't know if he sees it, but it makes me think that Reverend Toller is doing this just purely out of self-destruction, and maybe even using his religion as an excuse to destroy himself.
So the whole push and pull, if you will, of the movie is that between hope and despair, right? Hope and despair, like, which they make no bones about it. This is not like some revelation. This is clearly what the movie's about. And Michael, the eco-terrorist who'd spent time in a Canadian prison and then kills himself, despair, justifiable despair, but despair. And then you have Mary, pregnant, the future, very obviously representing hope. And he's just like he's introduced to these two characters, and like he's already in a bad place. He's already like suffered the loss of his family. He's responsible for the death of his son in his own eyes. He followed all of the institutions that he thought made his family and made his country great, and it cost him his son, and it cost him his relationship with his wife. So he's already in a pretty bad place and an alcoholic, and then he's introduced into this situation, and then everything comes to a head for him, and he has to like choose between these two. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, but that's what he. Okay, well, all right. I want to go back to the point though about the narration and the isolation. That's why it's not just a device. It really does paint the picture. Again, fucking style. Fuck that criticism. It's stupid. Style is set and tone is set. When he has the conversations with Jeffers, it says, "You're not in the real world. You're over there in this little museum. They call it the museum. You're isolated." And the narration is a diary. So that I really like that, because sometimes narration can not always be so useful, and it could be a crutch. But I think it's actually one of the more recent films, at least in the last 5-10 years that I can think of, where I'm really down with it, because it gives us insight into his loneliness and his almost inability to forgive himself in any way, even though he's trying to provide forgiveness for others around him.
That's one of the things I love most about it, is that when he has this conversation with Michael in the beginning, that he describes as being like wrestling with the angel, Jacob and the angel, right? Like he's so invigorated by it, even though he doesn't believe what he's saying. But he's practicing his craft, and like he just like is so like invigorated by that, but he doesn't buy any of it.
Well, that's the fucking thing with this fucking guy. This fucking guy, this character. I mean, Toller is a guy who was really sick mentally and physically. This guy is bearing the loss of his child. This is what it's all about to me. I just couldn't let it go. All these other things. He's trying to provide this service and try to ignore that part of him. And when that Esther, the character that he supposedly had a little affair with, who works at the fling. Abundant Life, a fling, whatever. Yeah, an experience. They had sex, probably. And he fucking murders her. God, he's so
brutal.
I forgot about that's something I forgot about. That he just tortures her and destroys her, saying you're a stumbling block. And you remind me of everything about myself I don't want to be reminded of.
And she's singing at the end when they're kissing. I'm like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. Like,
yeah, right. Don't forget. Who could forget that song? Because it's like lean.
It's the song from fucking Night of the Hunter. Like 50 years of like leaning, and it's Robert Mitchum in my head all the time. But for now, it's always going to be Esther.
I didn't know that. Okay,
and she's also one of, if not the only character that Toller doesn't really have to lie to or be dishonest to, either to hold his position at the church or collect his thoughts as in terms of his own belief. He has to admit nothing to her except his own honesty.
And he tells her about he tells her about his physical ailments. He tells her about he keeps her in his life, and that's how she becomes a liability to him. Like, because he let her in, and like her concern makes her like detestable to him. It's really sad.
Yeah, it really is. I feel bad for this guy, because I just think he's covering up for this pain of a son, and he's trying to use alcohol, he's trying to use this church role, anything he can find, and I just could never get away from it. And meanwhile, you have this whole main story about climate change, and that's what's going on here. You have this guy who is, Michael is basically just the activator of the story. I mean, he's in pain, and he's really tried to do something with his life that he really believes in a great deal, but he activates the story on a greater scale. For the first time, Toller can see that, like, wow, because he gets into it big time, because he wants anything to be into to avoid thinking about the loss of his son, the destruction of his marriage, and all this pain in his life.
And he actually gives really good advice to Michael in that early conversation. Like he tells him that you can't let this destroy your life. Like you can be right about, the stuff being all terrible and stuff, but you're letting it, negatively affect your life, blah, blah. Like he gives all this advice that he himself is not going to follow later.
Yes.
But one of the things that I really, so like Michael becomes like this, it's almost like, it's like despair and like knowledge and like you've studied history, you fucking know, like the more you learn about things, the more you can like despair. And like, Toller's in this spot where he's kind of already not doing that great. And then there's this scene in the movie where he like picks up Michael's laptop and starts like going through it. Now earlier in the movie, like he's like writing by candlelight to the point that I made a note, like, does he have the fucking internet there? But as things go on, he's drinking more, and he's on the internet more and more and more. And he's like radicalized more and more as he's absorbing more and more information. It's not even disinformation. It's like accurate information. But like just the more he learns, the more despair sinks in.
Yeah. And a big part of that is kind of maybe even the contradictory nature of the Reverend. He tells Michael that you can seek reason, but it's not going to provide any answers. I think he tells him that courage is the only solution to the despair, because both hope and despair are, he calls them contradictory truths. So in a way, the Reverend Toller kind of tries to rely on reason, and it's a path he goes down.
But it's life itself, too, he says. Life itself is those two truths.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's why I don't really see this as a tragedy, because in the end, I think he has the courage to take this road that may seem tragic, but it's his own, it's the courage of his own choice.
It's not tragic, I agree. You disagree.
Yeah. What's tragic? I mean, doesn't the movie end with him choosing hope?
I personally of the opinion
you think he killed himself?
At the end, he killed himself. Yes.
Yeah.
But there's no dream sequences, right? Is there before that?
There's no dream sequences before this. There's no dream sequences in the movie.
This is what I've wrestled with.
There's the one like transcendent intimate moment where they're like together, but there's no dream sequence. There's no dream sequences in the movie. I've seen that take that some people think that he actually drinks the poison and then imagines that she's there and that he goes to her and kisses. I think that's I think that's a really depressing take, and I feel kind of bad for people that feel that way. No offense, but because to me it seems really obvious again because there's no other things like that happen in the movie. It makes perfect sense. She's in the church theater. She's in the church place.
She asking about him. Where
she knows that he's there. Everyone knows that he's like worried about him. It makes perfect sense for her to go to him. Okay. And like, so there's no reason for me to be like, he's like the Schrader's doing something stylistic here. Like
Pastor Joel literally goes there to get Toller. It's locked. He's not answering, and yet Mary appears there. That was a kind of a clue for me.
But they'd also had that experience in that room that she appears in. She just knows how to get in there and show up there. He took a different route. He didn't go through that same route. Technically, I mean, okay,
that's I didn't notice that. That could be something, I guess. But I'll watch it again. Chad's chiming in saying that Toller's dead. I mean, it's great that you guys have this like surety about this, but I think that it's probably supposed to be interpretive. Because if it was supposed to be for sure, it would be really fucking obvious. We'd see him drink the Drano and we'd see him die.
Yeah.
So I think it's, so if it is, and it is clearly open-ended, I could see where you could make the choice either way. And again, that gives the choice to the viewer. Do you choose hope or despair in this viewing? And to me, it's clearly hope.
But it also has that haunting, very almost Full Metal Jacket-esque scene, when Private Pyle kills himself, spoiler alert, that music, heavy, dark, it's not positive music. It closes with them in this very impassioned embrace with the, and then it goes to the black and the darkness. So that's the only reason why it makes it kind of confusing. Or maybe there could be happy moments. There can be moments of absolute joy, but we're still on a ticking clock here with our Earth that we're in is ticking time bomb at the same time.
I can see it going either way. I think it's pretty interpretive.
It is. It's very interpretive. But I want to talk about the fact that this guy it's not a tragedy, and he's a contradiction and a cliche, though. This guy's a cliche. Even though he seems himself taking these radical approaches with the suicide vest, if that thing had gone through, That would have been pretty radical. I have no point with that. But that's not what was happening. He just ends up becoming this alcoholic cliche who can't deal with his own feelings. That's still how I see him. I don't see him as this martyr or this guy who's so sacrificial for the betterment of the good of the world at all. I just see a guy who's in pain.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to see him like that. We're supposed to see a man in pain. We're talking about a guy who very nearly murders people that he knows and cares about. I mean, he nearly murders Joel and Esther and a bunch of other people just to kill Bulk, just to like kill himself. So, like, if you are the kind of if you're the kind of person that's going to kill others to kill yourself, in my estimation, it doesn't get much worse than that. You are the worst kind of person. So, like, this isn't someone I think that we're supposed to like feel that. I mean, we're supposed to feel for them, but at the same time, like, yeah, I don't think we're supposed to like view him as a hero or anything like that. But yeah, someone in clear, intense emotional turmoil and pain, like, yeah, he's in so much pain that he's going to use that knowledge, that despair, to justify hurting others. And when that's taken away from him because he won't hurt Mary to do it, that scream into his robes, I mean, again, like, the man was
growling.
Oh yeah, walking around, just, oh man, the man was fucking robbed. Now I haven't seen Good Lord Bird yet, but I've seen a lot of Ethan Hawke movies, and I don't know that he's been better than this in any of them. I mean, it's just an incredible performance. When Esther asks him or says to him, "I just want you to be okay," and he's drinking, he just kind of like gives like this side eye off to the side, sets the glass down, then gives us totally fake smile.
Yes, and then he goes right to darkness. Though it's
perfect.
That is very, very good physical. And he is emitting the pain and this attempt to try to hang tight in this world, which is supposed to be about hope and giving. Like, his whole world, this whole religious experience is supposed to be about sacrificial efforts and support and love and compassion and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Him.
It gets compared a lot to Taxi Driver for obvious reasons. Probably the biggest one, the character having this obsession with a social issue. And you talk about the narrative a little earlier, Mike. The one thing that this movie does perfectly and Taxi Driver does beautifully is the first chunk of the movie, you're kind of right there with your protagonist, for lack of a better word, until there's this turn where you're making a decision one way or another about how you feel about them based on what they're doing. It's just so remarkable. For me, it starts when he sees the suicide vest and he starts going on his laptop. How do you guys think they did with the environmentalism aspect? For me, you could almost swap that out for any type of social issue, but I think they do this really nicely.
Not at all.
I couldn't disagree more. Go ahead, Mike.
Really?
Yeah, because this is about the earth was created by God. These people literally think, I mean, that this whole place was created in 6 days, and he rested on the seventh. This whole style, whatever the version of Christianity is that you believe, this is his place that he created. Yes, there's a heaven and an afterlife, a place of paradise, but why would he purposely give the tools to these people to destroy the place that he created? I think that's pretty specific, as opposed to like civil rights or...
Yeah, and we're talking about a scenario where there's no future, like abortion rights or like... you know, some sort of labor movement thing, something like this. Like, there's nothing more hopeless than the idea that there literally can be no future.
Yeah,
right?
the end of all of this. Yeah.
So
I think it's
pretty important.
You guys say that. Yeah. No, I think that issue is super important. And again, you talk a lot about hope and despair, but pride is probably easily the third biggest thing in here. And the film talks about how sometimes it can take the place of God's creativity. So I'm watching the movie and I'm going to go on a tangent, but I'm thinking about when my fish tank used to get dirty and I knew it was fucking dirty and it was cloudy. And eventually I was going to clean it. I was going to get the fish out. They may be alive, they may be dead, but eventually I'd clean it. And it's nothing on the fish. You know, it's just me being a good caretaker or not. So you have all of these people wondering about whether what they are doing has an effect on how their creator thinks about them and them contaminating their own environment. I think there's a lot of beautiful stuff in there in that respect. The funeral, I fucking love the funeral.
I love Okay, I don't love that song. It's like, but I love the moment when she's dumping his ashes out of a plastic bag, and then the song ends, and like that Michael had it in his mind, like he was just like, it's gonna be like this moment, but the song ends, it's just like there's just like this woman just standing on like in a bunch of mud, holding a plastic bag, and it's just like it's so fucking like, it's just like, oh man, like this is not what you thought it was gonna be, Michael. I'm sorry, it's just not.
It's funny though, too. I mean, people are afraid to laugh at that moment.
It is. No, it is. You're right. Like it's absurd.
Right.
So let's get into the suicide theme then, which clearly masterfully unavoidable in this film. Right. You're right about that. So Travis, lay it out for me. How you see it in this film, or what's the point of view you see here?
Well, I mean, suicide is the utmost action that one could take if one is given into despair completely, right? I mean, yes. Alcoholism is probably a step on the road, at least it is for Toller. But suicide itself is, and murder suicide be even more bleak. And Michael acts as a like it's a catalyst of sorts to to kick things off. And when they're having that conversation and like and Michael is telling him all of the these environmental issues, like just this statement, this blank statement of like the most depressing and awful facts, like delivered so flatly and plainly, like all emotion's been removed from Michael because like he doesn't even. Like to this point, he can't even imagine like being okay with a life coming into the world because like it feels irresponsible to him. So like even his own life, like his carbon footprint to him seems like a waste, like, so it's just the ultimate despair. So,
but he also showed emotions, in my opinion, towards the martyrs that he talks about on the wall. That's where he got emotional.
He wanted his life to mean, in their lives, their sacrifices didn't mean anything. And he knows that his sacrifice wouldn't really mean anything either, which is, so he's like, it's hopeless. Like I've devoted my life. These people gave their lives. I went to jail to try and make a change. And we've already passed this point in 2015 when scientists said that there would be no hope for change. So like, what is there? And ultimately it's an infection. He infects Toller with this, and Toller is already hopeless, but now he's got this logical justification for his hopelessness.
Yeah, he's been given the fuel, and here we go. The access point he needed to go to town on something that actually could be connected to his work and to his despair at the same time, which is really, that's really good writing on the part of them. And I also want to say that, did anyone have that feeling when they're like showing some of these articles and these facts that they're going over? We're in 2021 now, and it's like, fuck, that was like 6 years ago, 2015, and now we're 4 years past that. I was internally, as a human being, I was like, this is shit, even more depressing and terrifying.
Yeah, well.
I gotta say this, I'm gonna be remiss. You think that Toller's advice to Michael was good advice and didn't directly lead to Michael killing himself?
Do I think that Toller's advice directly led to Michael killing himself? I mean, I'm not Ed Bulk, so no, I don't think that.
Okay.
Well, he gave good advice. Travis said he gave good advice earlier in relation to the
hope and despair bit. I thought.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah. What do you think?
Did he also not tell him that his biggest problem is himself and kind of take yourself out of the equation thing and everything will be just fine?
Mm-hmm. He did.
Well, I mean, I would not say that Toller's a particularly good preacher. I mean, he tries.
It's kind of like a job to him.
It is. All right, so that gets me to a point that I really wanted to get into, which is plumbing. There's this whole theme of plumbing throughout the whole movie, right? The movie starts and like the guy comes up to him and he's like, "Hey, the guy from Abundant Life is like, yeah, there's still a leak in the sink. We need you to take care of that. We'll get the guys from Abundant Life to come down." No. I want to fix that leak. I want to work on that leak. And then he shows him later on like working on a toilet and stuff too. And then like Mary comes to him like, "Hey, I'd like for you to talk to my husband, Michael. He needs help." And he's like, "Oh, at Abundant Life, they have counselors, like you could talk to them. That'd be cool." Like he is perfectly content to act as like museum guide, a tour guide. He's perfectly content to tend to the plumbing of the place and keep it working. But like that's it, the bare minimum, right? Like so eventually he's drinking the Drano himself, and ultimately fixing the problem. I guess it's I don't know 100% what is trying to be said here, but it's an interesting web that's or thread that's woven throughout the film.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's almost as if faith or even the church itself are a leaky faucet that has to be constantly maintained. And literally his church is a museum. So you put your antiquated adjectives there all you want to. It says a ton for me. Yeah. One of my favorite scenes is when Tyler goes to First Abundant for the inaugural time. And I'm not talking about the singers, Mike, but when he sits in the pew, and God, it's such an exercise in gorgeous internalized acting. There's so much going on with Ethan Hawke. Even we know the kids are kind of just like fucking around. He sees this earnestness in these proceedings. And in his mind, this is a church that's working. And he's kind of remembering about, what faith can do. And you can see it on his face, this kind of love that's pushing against his own distrust for the system.
Not remotely what I get from that.
Really? Yeah, that's
not
so
remotely
weird.
What I get from that
so
is that
interesting.
I get from that like he's like, because to him, all right, for me, I think he loves First Reformed, the church, which is partly why he wants to blow it up in a weird way.
He wants part of that legacy of all those people in the book, all those old beginning.
They're all dressed so modernly, and then you get to him, and he looks like he's from the fucking 19th century. But I think that he gets to the super church, and I think he looks like not thrilled to be there, not. To me, it feels it's empty. Yeah. It's as empty as his other place, as the First Reformed. So
he knows he's going to see Esther too. He's like, fuck.
Right. And so to me, I didn't get that feeling at all about the super. To me, the super church is so vapid and so they're not doing it. I mean, they're just encouraging. All right, so they got this teen instructor guy who's like, oh fuck, someone asked a real question. I better turn to Reverend Toller here. And then clearly they're raising fascists. So
yes,
I don't really. The super church.
It might be.
Is not.
It might be the possibility they have because they actually have people go in there. He knows it seats 5,000 and they fill the 5,000. So I guess I maybe feel a little sorry for him seeing the opportunity there.
Yeah, but I don't get the feeling that he wants that. I don't. That's what I'm saying. That's kind of gets back to my plumbing thing and him being a bad preacher thing. He's not a good speaker. When he's preaching to these 5 people in the pews, he's a terrible public speaker. He's not good.
I don't know what Mary sees in him. She goes there all the. You're right. There's this. I don't know what that. You've really helped me. Yeah, he's been there physically with her personally and prayed with her. So maybe that helped her more. But those fucking sermons, trash. He's just not inspiring whatsoever.
Well, you say that, but. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to anyway. I think, and I'm willing to bet that a lot of people that give sermons or are involved in the church are inherently terrible speakers, and they're doing this out of a calling. And I see that on Toller's face that he sucks at his job, but he's fucking trying.
Oh yeah, he's definitely
so I don't see him as a bad pastor. I just see him as someone who's.
We covered this. He's a minimalist.
You're right.
Travis said it very well. He just does not want to be. You mentioned the plumbing. The organ is also intrinsically connected to that. There's this missing piece. The organ doesn't work. The plumbing and the organ, all this stuff. These are parts and things that need to be replaced. And there's this thought about this missing piece, and they can't find it. He can't make it happen. And what he is looking for, to me, is not ever clear.
I think it's his own faith. He's lost his own faith. If only I could pray, he says. I agree, Eric. I do think that he's trying. I think he's ultimately. I think he's a good man. And that's why he doesn't do what he almost does. But it shows what emotional turmoil and pain can do to a person. It can just drive you into. It can make you someone that you're not. And the alcohol, as he says, doesn't help. He's drinking so much. He's literally putting it in his soup and eating it with his food. This guy is serious addiction problems.
Yeah, this guy's very, very, very addicted to alcohol. There's no doubt about it. I want to talk about Mary versus Esther. Why does he feel so much more attached to Mary because of the suicide and because he wants to go down the road of more despair and pain, and he connects to that? While Esther provides just as much pain about his own existence, about his physical health problems and his past pain and failed marriages and losing a child. There's just as much agony and despair there. Is Mary truly someone who's more of a light to him? That's why he's drawn to her as opposed to Esther? How do you guys see the difference there? I'm curious.
Well, to me, I'm a little I mean, like, there's kind of an age thing there. I'm like, well, of course he's going for the younger girl, the blonde. Like, okay.
Oh, that's very simple.
Beautiful.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, Ethan.
Yeah.
But which is understandable, you know, I can't judge. But more than that, I think it's a fact that Esther knows him. She literally knows him. She knows his pain. She knows his history. She knows she knows him. And to be with her would be like being with himself, and he hates himself. But as opposed to her, to Mary, she represents hope. She's pregnant, she's unknown, but like comforted by him, and like sees good in him, and like is happy to see him. So not only is it like that, like part of the reason she's hope is because she doesn't know him, because she's the unknowable herself. If you know what's coming, it's hard to hope for it.
There's a purity there. One of the subtle touches that Schrader does is when he first hooks up with Mary and they're having a conversation. It's shot in these very wide shots. The second she mentions that she's pregnant, you get this super, super close-up shot of Toller. And to me, that's kind of a clue into his disappointment at the fact that this opportunity is gone. And I think it's a nice moment for them to get together. I mean,
I find it interesting that he's thinking about blowing up the First Reformed as early as like 3/4 into the movie, when he's like tells her not to come, like, and he still kind of carries on for a while in the movie and like doing stuff, and you're like, fuck, like, speaking of like I know, Mike, I know that like I know that you've said before in the show that if there's voiceover, you only like it if it's like they're saying one thing but doing something else. When he's like eating the miso and fish, and he's like, hey, give yourself the little things. Why don't we indulge ourselves? But really, he's stalking Bulk, and Bulk is like right behind him. Or he's like, or when he's like, I woke up feeling good this morning, and I got about my daily tasks, and it shows him like getting pounded with booze, you know. There's a lot of that happening in the movie.
This guy's distorted. He's connected, but he's distorted. He's just an absolute mess, and I just find it to be a total cliche in the end. You say he's a good man. He's a decent man. I think at best. Man. He's not a bad.
He's a man. He's a man.
He's a human being, but he's also. Yeah. Yes, there's no this good bad thing. You know,
that's kind of the point of the movie, right? He's got the capability for greatness and awfulness, like depending on what you choose, hope or despair. Like he could be a positive force for good in life, or he could blow people up needlessly. I
think you're right. That's actually a really clarifying point. Because he's not a cliche, really. He's actually more of, or in the sense he is. This is humanity. You're struggling with the greatness and the challenges and the pain, and you're trying to make sense of it all every day. You could do something incredible for others at one point. You could be absolutely disparaging to others at another time, while conflicting absolute horrifying pain upon yourself and the ones you love, and then helping somebody out of a major crisis after their husband kills themselves. These are all things happening. This is, to me, I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner. This is a textbook example of what humanity is. It's not black or white. It's all gray. You know, people can save other people's lives and then, cheat on their significant other at the same time. Like all these things are in play at once. So, well, it just hit me all of a sudden.
It's messy, but ultimately, and it's messy, and like there might be, terrible things that about coming down the line, but ultimately it's the choices that you make.
Yep. You see this, you get this, okay, fine, let's call it a cliche. You've got the priest that's like conflicted and drunk because he can't deal with these interactions.
The alcoholic, particularly.
But, one thing that strikes me is that when he decides to have that conversation with Michael, he's a little bit fired up about the opportunity to help someone, even though he seems like the type of person to me that thinks about how maybe I would feel about joining the clergy. These people are called there based on a faith, and I don't mean to generalize, but these people are called there based on a belief in a higher power. They aren't trained counselors, all right? So talking to these people about whether or not they're on
the seminary school, isn't that something they teach at seminary school?
That's a technicality, I think you're making there.
Possibly, but okay, let's say we're not talking about life or death. People are going to come to you about maybe wanting to cheat on their husband, their spouse, what's right, what's wrong, and they're expecting you to have the perfect answer. I'd be fucking drunk all the time.
Not the perfect answer. Not the perfect.
Come on.
No, I think you've got a good point. I mean, like there's a reason why he's chosen a preacher as his protagonist here, or antagonist, whatever. Because he's someone that we would look to as just like just absolutely would have authority. Chad, our resident preacher, says that Eric is right. They don't teach counseling at seminary school. Why would they? They're just telling people what to do with their life. Fuck me. All right. Anyways, I kind of lost my thread there. Anyway,
I lost my train of thought there. Oh. Well, we're getting close to the point here. We actually started earlier on this film. We've talked. This is our 1 year anniversary.
There's so much to talk about.
What else have we missed, Eric? Come on. What else have we not covered? Please get into it.
Well, Paul Schrader himself, if you didn't dig into him, he was raised in a Calvinist Reformed church. His father was a minister. The fucking guy didn't even see a movie until he was 17. And we're talking about one of the most respected screenwriters of all time. He stuffed so much into this about his own. This guy is the king of psychosexual savagery, male savagery. Affliction's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. And to me, this is his masterpiece.
From Grand Rapids, too. Local guy from the west side of the state. And Chad says, by the way, they teach you to tell people to see a counselor, which makes sense. So thank you, Chad. Appreciate that.
See a counselor.
But yeah, so clearly this is incredible that a man could go through most of his life, tell stories for a living through film, decades and decades worth, writing, directing, everything, all the angles of filmmaking. And then at the very later, this actually makes sense that later stages in his life, he would make maybe one of his finest films. I actually see that people might be like, well, that's amazing. I can't believe this guy at his old age was able to make this film. No, it's actually the experience and wisdom and everything he's learned through his own mistakes in his life that he's able to create this environment in the film. Really well done.
And I think that we have some reason to be excited here.
We do.
His upcoming film, The Card Counter, looks pretty fucking cool. We got Oscar Isaac, Tiffany Haddish, Mr. Willem Dafoe, a regular collaborator, and Ty Sheridan, who I think is a really promising young actor. And Paul Schrader wrote and directed again. So I think this is something to look out for.
And before that, Travis, your boy Nick Cage reteaming with Paul Schrader. A government agent must track down and kill a terrorist before he loses his full memory from dementia.
Oh God,
that sounds awesome and bad.
No, it sounds right up Travis's alley.
Well, so Schrader is like Nick Cage in a little bit, in that he'll sometimes do these fucking movies where he'll just clearly just kind of getting a paycheck, or just kind of or just making movies with his friends and whatever, he's just one of these guys that he's just always working, every couple of years or so, maybe every year, he's just cranking something out all the time. And most of it I think is pretty good. Some of it is less good than others. But
I mean, you love Dog Eat Dog, you said, but it's rated 4 point something on IMDb. I don't know if that means it's accurate.
I don't know that I loved Dog Eat Dog, but I liked Dog Eat Dog. But I would expect most people to hate Dog Eat Dog, because the movie starts off with Willem Dafoe doing the most vicious shit I think I've almost ever seen on film, and it's just hey, well, here's one of your main characters. Enjoy watching this fucking asshole for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, he did Bringing Out the Dead with Scorsese again, and Nick Cage in '99, and that was so. So you're right. He has lived a life, and I'm really, really glad that we got to do this movie, because one thing I don't think we've discussed, we talked about the environment part of this movie, but I really feel like we didn't. I don't know. There's something missing that we didn't quite cover, because when I saw this movie in 2018, I was really just mesmerized by the shot, the powerful concept to me. I don't know why it hit me so hard, but I'm like, wow, this makes so much sense. Why wouldn't more pastors or people of faith who believe that God created this world would not be speaking out more about environmentalism? It just clicked in my head, such an obvious point that I wasn't thinking about, because I don't think about that stuff on a day-to-day basis. But I was blown away by it.
And you see, there are institutions that they are pushing back against as well. Because I've known some Christians that would active Christians that have bucked against their own churches over issues like this, and have had have walked away from them over this issue or similar issues.
Do we see a lot of? I've been out of the game for a little while, but do we see a lot of churches?
Michael Douglas in 1997.
Oh God, we
all got drugged and left for dead, and all I got was a shitty movie.
I'd be interested. I'd be interested, since the environment is the one thing in the entire world that faith or religion can't really have an immediate impact on. Do we see a lot of churches promoting environmental issues to their communities?
My instant thought is I see more when I think about immigration issues and like human rights and equality for all. That's what I see on church lawns, at least in Ann Arbor and places like that, or Detroit area, or when I went to Maryland, even in Maryland and over in Severna Park, I saw more of like those types of signs, but nothing about the environment, just in my experience.
I haven't seen signs. I've definitely heard people talking, like quoting the Bible, saying that, it's our job to be stewards of the earth, that kind of thing. I think that's Genesis or something. But so I've heard that kind of statement made, but I've also heard people, historically speaking, people have like Christians have approached the land like this is what God gave us to exploit. Like these resources are here. This is what Genesis says, right? That
these animals are here to eat.
Right. All these resources are here for us to use and exploit. Bring capitalism into that mix in the 19th century, and just like the belief that people didn't even think animals could go extinct, or that like they didn't understand non-renewable resources or care about that. So like, you're gonna like that's part of the point of this movie is you're gonna find people that are Christians that could think like Tyler. You're gonna find people that are Christians that could think like Joel, and you're gonna find people that are Christians that are gonna think like Ed Bulk. Like Christianity is not a barometer for how good a person is. It's just a ideology, and some people are going to be good, and some people are going to be bad, regardless of what they believe in.
And some people are going to do the wrong thing, the right things for the wrong reasons. And we haven't talked that much about Bulk, but his whole backbone and campaign is based around just fucking subjugating and dumping money into this church for his own political gain. Fucking slimeball.
Yeah, I don't know how good a thing that is. For one, and this guy Michael Gaston, who he was in The Leftovers, he did great on that. He blows into this movie for like 2 scenes, and one of the scenes he doesn't even speak in. And I don't know that I can think of more villains that I've hated more on film than Ed Bulk in this fucking movie. Part of me is like, fucking kill him, bomb him, fucking kill him. Yeah. Like, he's so bad. Just
the way he talks to Tyler.
That's what it is. It's not just what he does. It's the way he talks to Tyler. Like you counseled him, and then he went to go kill himself. And like, can we not politicize this? Like pretending like the climate change is like a political issue. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, he's just the worst.
Yeah, but he's out. Let's talk about that scene. That's the restaurant scene where they have the apple pie. It's Reverend Jeffers and Reverend Toller and Balk. They all sit down at the local diner, and they got the pamphlet ready to go, which is printed on paper, by the way. He stopped by the printers. I got 3 copies, which has tons of pages of paper, which I also recognized because that's what Balk does. And then same time, Toller admonishes himself in the narrative there, in the narration, saying, I should have just kept my mouth shut. Why, the most intelligent guy is the one who says nothing or looks to appear the most intelligent. So why? I'm not sure why he's saying that. I actually confuse that because that's like what he would do. This is what this guy does. I'm not talking about Balk. I'm talking about Toller. He will speak. Yeah. And he's defending his little, it is respectable. He's defending his little area.
But he kind of hates himself, right? I mean, like he's down on himself for little things.
True.
That's not the only scene in the movie where he's just down on himself over nothing. Like where he, you know what I mean? Like the dude, like part of depression is like hating yourself when there's no need to. Jesus doesn't want you to suffer. That's the best advice that Joel gives him. Like, it's like, this is not, I'm not a Christian, but I'm pretty sure this wasn't what was intended, what Toller's doing.
He makes a very clear statement, though, about this was Michael's last wishes, okay? His will was literally written out for all of this thing, for this whole service to be carried out. This is not a political statement, although it can have political overtones, so technically it's not untrue.
Balk's not wrong. I mean, it is. Yeah. It is like he brought one of his press friends, like one of his friends in the funeral was press. Like it was intended to be a display.
Yeah, that's what he wanted. Michael dedicated his life to that. That's clear. But even though he can be right about what he wants, and it's fair for him to have his final rights be, respected. The fucking Balk can turn it into something else because that's what this guy does. He'll turn anything into a twist, and it'll make you just want to have your fucking head explode because even though you're kind of right, he's somewhat right too, but he's also just willing to twist the words.
He's a bulldozer.
Great. Yes. He's a boom. Yes, a bulldozer. That's a great word for that guy. And that's why you're right. Really great job by Gaston. I want to fucking punch that guy in the face 10 times over, and he's hardly really in the movie.
He's a really good actor.
He is great. Oh, Christ. Wow, we've been on for an hour and a half, guys. I think we got to get to it on the anniversary show of Cinema 9 Podcast. I feel like this is going to be an easy call, but maybe I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. Who wants to do the honors first? Who wants to
Oh
leap
my
into it?
gosh.
Who wants to take a leap of faith?
I'll jump in. There's a reason why we've talked about the movie. I mean, it's one of these movies that kind of matters, unlike so many others that we see in multiplexes. It's so hard to categorize or put in a convention. Is it a religious morality play or a social allegory or an environmental thriller? It's all of these, man. It talks about the dangers of righteous indignation, and it's got interesting thoughts on the fact that we're not able to control the world that our children are living in. And when you stop to think about that, there is a fear there. But in the long run, I think the accomplishment of this movie is the opportunity it gives you to dwindle on hope or settle on despair. You got to forgive me again. Romans talks about saying, it says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. If we keep that in mind, I think we're in a good spot.
We forgive you for quoting scripture. We're not going to be down on you for that.
Yeah, we don't do that
bias.
So.
Oh, really? There's no social
we don't care.
bias with Christianity?
No.
You can quote scripture all fucking day if you want. I mean, I'm not going to, but you're welcome to.
But yeah, clearly the movie holds up. It's a complete masterpiece. It's a perfect film.
Perfect film.
Wow, a perfect film by Eric Bransham in 2021 here. It's early 2021, so maybe we'll have another perfect film at some point in the year. I'll go next. I will say this. So thought-provoking. It's very difficult to watch this movie and just kind of sit there and be like, maybe if I was depressed as Toller was, maybe if I was like, oh God, I got to sit down and watch this movie. But I feel like he would be into it. I feel like because he wants to have something to latch onto as well. So he'd be like, oh yeah, especially when he was activated as a radical, as Travis said earlier. It's very dry at times. That's fine though. The style is the fact that it slow plays. It doesn't rush to any judgments. It doesn't rush to any quick movements. It's all very deliberate. There's really, even the scenes where they're touching each other and they're having that spiritual moment and they're flying over all of these beautiful, gorgeous spectacles, and then rubber tires, fucking volcanic explosions. It's like chaos, garbage in the streets for miles. I kept wondering, like, where the fuck is this place, by the way, where there's just this, it looked like it was a tsunami, a post-tsunami type street, but I guess that doesn't matter. I really just have a hard time watching this movie and not wanting to have a conversation about it. Like I was really looking forward. I actually waited on this movie till last night because I didn't want to watch it too early, and then I want to talk about it with someone else and get out all these other thoughts that I might miss when we do our conversation together. It's very, very, absolutely challenging to the mind, current, and it does something unique in the fact that you will have to actually look in your own existence, your current existence. Like, that's why this will only get more and more prescient, this movie. That's the other thing about it, is another 10 years from now, we'll be like, fuck, remember that? We were kind of ahead of the game. It could be even worse now. This is not a political statement. This is just the world we see before myself. I'm not trying to make it political. I'm not trying to get all Ed Balk with you here. I just want you to know that you should see this movie. If you've never seen it, for some reason you've watched this or listened to this, you clearly have to have seen the movie, and it definitely holds up without a doubt.
There's this moment pretty early in the movie where Michael talks about 2050, right? He talks about the year 2050 and like what people will think of that, of him and us and all that kind of stuff. I genuinely hope that people in 2050 watch this movie. I hope that this movie is remembered. It's not that far off. I think that people might remember this movie and watch it. And and I think it will and it will tell them if they still have electricity and they're able to watch it. It'll tell them that, hey, we were conflicted. We were worried that whether or not God would forgive us for what we've done to this world. That if you would forgive us for what we've done to this world, because there's a generational theme in this movie as well, right? So I think it's an incredibly important and poignant film that says so many big things in such seemingly effortless ways. Like it's such a gentle film about such heavy issues. It's so beautifully shot. It's so calm and like still and well portrayed. And even in those moments where it gets a little more out there, like the that transcendent intimacy scene where they're like laying on top of each other, and what Mike was just describing, where like we're seeing like nature, and then we're seeing like burning tire or like piles of tires and stuff. Like
magic realism.
Yeah, it's like it's so out of place from the rest of the movie, and I'm like, as I'm watching, I'm like, why isn't this fucking cheesy? And it's not. It's so powerful because like he's using art to display emotion and feeling without using any words whatsoever, and like. And I don't know, like this movie to me is the jewel in the crown of Paul Schrader's career, and a very illustrious career. Taxi Driver, what? Honestly, this film is. I enjoyed it even more last night than I did after the first viewing. I appreciated it immensely more being more prepared going in, and I really think this is one of the best films from this century so far. And it absolutely 100% holds up. And again, Ethan Hawke fucking robbed. Paul Schrader robbed. Ethan Hawke robbed. Both of them should have been nominated out the ass.
Oh, I'm thinking what you just said there, Travis. We could do our 30th anniversary show in 2050 and do First Performed again, 30 years later.
All right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think we hope you all will join us again for that 30th anniversary show. We'll do it on April 8th, 2050. What do you say, about 9:30?
Yeah, we'll be there.
No.
Schedule
I got a dialysis appointment. Let's make it 10:30.
Good, because I have something at 11. All right, there it is. First Reformed. We did it, guys. And 1 year of shows, 1 year of film. What an absolute treat it's been. I've really enjoyed it. We've already said how much we love doing the show. We'll keep doing this. We'll keep bringing it to you. We're going to keep on trucking. And that means let's get back to business. Travis Roy, you're back on the schedule for this week's announcement of the next week's show.
I'm excited. All right, I have a film in mind. I thought
all this up, man.
Yeah, no, by shifting gears completely. That's how. There's no try to like. We're not doing a drama. I'm gonna do a genre that we've neglected a little bit of late. One of my favorite genres we've not really looked into nearly as much as I thought that we would. I thought this film was from 2012. It turns out it's from 2011. I'm talking about Adam Wingard's You're Next.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Mike, we're doing a horror movie. Sorry, but we're doing a classic, I think, classic slasher flick. It's now been 10 years for this movie, and it's one of my favorite slasher flicks. I think it's got a really interesting story. So, and I don't know how much is going to be there. Like, it doesn't have. We're not going to get the same heavy fruit to pick as First Reformed offered up. I can tell you that right now. But I do think it's a pretty fun film, and I'm looking forward to another visit.
Good.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I figured you'd never seen it. Yeah. Well, I knew Eric had, and so I knew Eric had seen it. So now you're going to watch it.
I will watch it. That's right. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a lot of fun, and we'll do it next week on the Cinema 9 podcast. You're next. It's
to hear the enthusiasm in his voice. Oh, I have to watch people get murdered. Okay.
Ah! Woo! Get fucking weight of bumped. Fucking jack to the tits. Yeah, I'm excited. We're gonna have good times. Next week's show, we'll be here, same time, same channel. 1 more year of film will be discovered through this show. We got the Oscars coming up soon too, so. I don't know. You had an idea about us maybe doing like our own Oscar thoughts. What was that, Travis? I thought it was a fun idea.
I guess we could talk about it on the show. I thought it might be fun for us to like between the three of us like come up with a list of 5 nominees that we all agree on, and we don't necessarily have to like pick anyone from it. We could maybe put a poll up on Facebook or something, let people let our many fans vote. But I thought maybe it'd be fun to like offer our nominee. Maybe not like everything, but best director, best film,
over the last year,
best actress. Yeah, so the major categories.
Yeah,
so we'll we could each offer. We'll talk and kind of come up with a list of 5 between the three of us.
Yeah, we still got 3 weeks, so let's. That's a good idea. I think we should do that. It'll be a lot of fun.
All right.
And next month we're gonna have our next guest, Steve Paulo, will be on May 6th. May 6th. That'll be after this rotation. I don't know what the movie is yet. He's still thinking about it. He just did his 30 favorite films of 30 days last month on Twitter. A lot of interesting picks. So he definitely loves movies. I'm really looking forward to Steve coming on because he loves the show too. So it's always great. I know that makes Travis feel better when our guests are big fans of the show, or at least
Again,
they are aware of the show.
They don't have to be fans. They just need to know the format. Like, don't start bringing up a movie we talked about the previous episode. That's all I'm asking.
Hey, that's fair. Very fair. All right, well, that's it. I'm Michael Govier, Eric Brancham, Travis Roy. 1 year in the books. Let's do another. We'll catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.